On a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate your vitality? And how do you define vitality? Can you say that most days of your life you are filled with great purpose and a sense of wellness and wholeness? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today with a special guest, Dr. Alan Mishra. Hi, everybody. Dana Dimitri here with Lean, Healthy, Ageless, and the co-author of the Eat, Live, Thrive diet. And if you're a woman 45 plus looking to have your best health, your best vitality, your best body, no matter what your age, you are in the right spot. Well, I want to tell you a little bit about our guest. I did a recent interview with him, and I think you're going to be motivated to take some special steps to notch your vitality, body, soul, and spirit to a whole new level. Dr. Mishra is a board-certified orthopedic surgeon and sports medicine specialist with over 20 years of experience working at the Stanford Medical Center. He's also a Stanford Continuing Studies instructor and leader of Vitality Essentials course. Dr. Mishra also pioneered the use of platelet-rich plasma, PRP, for sports medicine applications and is the founder of DareToBeVital.com, a movement dedicated to enhancing global vitality. He's also led vitality discussions at Google, Stanford's Graduate School of Business, the University of Michigan, the Campbell Trophy Summit, the Boys and Girls Club of Silicon Valley, and in front of Navy SEALs, in addition to several other events. He's delivered dozens of keynote addresses about regenerative medicine at elite research conferences in the United States, Asia, Europe, and at the United Nations in Geneva. Dr. Mishra has published numerous scientific articles in respected medical journals, and his research has also been featured on the front of the New York Times. He lives in Silicon Valley with his wife, daughter, and awesome dog, Tess.
Well, as I said, everybody, I am just delighted to have Dr. Alan Mishra with us today to talk about something that's a passion to him. You know, I just think, Alan, that you have written a fabulous book in your Vitality Essentials. Say the name of your book. It's Dare to Be Vital, Vitality Essentials course book. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did. It's a little too long. You can just call it Vitality Essentials.
I love that. And I see your Dare to Be Vital shirt on. That is awesome. And you say there's 8 essentials, and you basically teach lessons in this book, and I loved it. So many things resonated with me. As a woman almost turning 68, I believe we still have.
I don't believe that. I don't believe
Yeah,
that.
I don't believe it either. My darn birth certificate says it's true. So there's a lot of things about purpose, and you know, no matter what our age, we want to live with vitality and energy and passion. But I will say, the older I get, the more I think, you know, the time I have on this earth is limited. I especially am so mindful of time, and I hear that in your writing. So let me ask you a question before you tell us the essentials. What got you so into this topic of vitality being multifaceted? It's not just about health, and you are a doctor, a medical doctor.
So that's a good question to start with. And it was almost exactly 4 years ago. I was in Australia with my family, and it was a trip of a lifetime. Always wanted to go down under. And at the end of the trip, we were at the favorite place that I wanted to go to, which was the Great Barrier Reef. And there was this little beach called the 4 Mile Beach. And I'd go running up and down the beach. And of course, I had been in Australia for almost 2 weeks. I was on vacation. I was with my family. My cell phone didn't work that well. And, exactly. And I was just wearing my shorts, no shirt, no socks, no shoes, and my feet were kind of splashing in the water as I was running up and down the beach. So kind of a chariots of fire moment for me. But as I came back towards the other end of the beach, there was this 80-foot tall palm tree, and I was looking out at the coral sea. I'm like, oh my God, I feel vital. My head doesn't hurt, my knees don't hurt, my back doesn't hurt, I don't have any worries. And I stood there. And a lot of times in life, we pause when something goes wrong. And in medicine, and I know you're a nurse, we have these things called morbidity and mortality rounds where we try to figure out what went wrong. At that juncture, Dana, I paused and tried to figure out what was going right. All right. I wanted to understand what that word meant. And it's been like a little bug in the back of my brain for the last 4 years. So I turned all of my research and medical training onto understanding what that word meant. I looked for biomarkers for vitality, and then I came across this idea after about a year of searching for a biomarker. What I mean by that, in your genes, in your blood, in your heart rate, things like that. Yes, they correlate with how you feel, but your overall sense of vitality, what I understood, is having a balance of physical, mental, social, and spiritual wellness. And then the subset of that, really the thesis of the Vitality Essentials book is vitality is a skill. And then a little light bulb went on. Oh my God, if vitality is a skill, I can continue to learn about it. I can continue to try and understand it, and I can potentially teach it. And that led to me applying to teach a course, which to me at the time was a little crazy, teach a course at Stanford on how to enhance your vitality. And that's kind of the origin story of where I've been going. And since that time, I spend almost every single day trying to find what I call info stacks, little pieces of scientifically valid, actionable things you can do to enhance your vitality.
I love it. And it's interesting. You talk about being on vacation because we all think, yeah, vacation, you feel great. But we want to take that feeling, that sense of wellness and wholeness with us. You know, we want to take it into how do we translate that to everyday life when we're working our regular job, when we're doing what is maybe may seem mundane, but it doesn't have to be mundane. So what are those 8 essentials to, because I do love the fact that it's body, soul, and spirit. It is, you can't have one without the other. You can't just be super healthy and feel vital and live a vital life.
So there's a lot of different versions of this, but what I'd like to do maybe, Dana, is go through what I call the top 3 ways to ignite your vitality. So there's 8 or 9 or 10 things you can work on, but the number one thing you should start with is what I call pinpoint your purpose. And pinpointing your purpose, I kind of translated that a little further into pinpointing your peak purpose. And that's a very difficult thing to do. I spend like almost 3 or 4 hours talking to my Stanford students about how to do that. But you can start, and now's a great time. I mean, we're in a challenging time. It's a time of transition. So what do you do? If you don't know what your purpose is, it's a function of how you spend your time. So you can do something crazy like I did and say, okay, during this time of COVID, I'm going to finish writing my book. I'm going to get it out there. I'm going to start interviewing people, doing webinars on a variety of different platforms. Whatever you think you really want to do, participate in your passions. Dare greatly is another one that I have. If you don't like those first 2, try something new. Play the guitar. I'm actually trying to teach myself how to draw right now, which is a very difficult thing. And the final one, which actually probably should be the first one if you're looking to pinpoint your purpose, is to simply serve somebody else, especially somebody in need. So the first of the 3 of what I call the ignite your vitality is to pinpoint your purpose. The second is another thing that's crucial. That's what I call stockpiling health. Now, I love what you have in terms of your lean, healthy, and ageless in this concept. There's no way, Dana, you are where you are right now if you didn't for decades stockpile health. You probably way back in your teens and 20s and certainly moving forward.
Late 20s, yeah. I had issues early. But
well, if you start, the earlier you start and the more you do things to work on 3 or 4 components of your physical health, that's your flexibility, your strength, and your endurance. And I'll give you one specific study, and I think this is what I really like to lean into is the science behind it. So let me share with you and your listeners or viewers one that changed my practice and changed the way I think about it. It's a big study in women. It's 480 women. They were twins, okay, and this is out of England. And they studied cognitive decline in those women between age 50 and 60. And the number one thing that correlated with cognitive decline was just increasing age, which is not great. I do not know why exactly this researcher decided to also measure leg strength. And I contacted her and we've been in touch via email. But she every year tested the women's leg strength. And what correlated with not just better cognition, but actually more brain matter, they did MRIs of the women yearly, and especially at the end of it was a 10-year study. Wow. They found better cognition and more gray and white matter if you had stronger legs. So what that allows me to say is leg power predicts brain power.
Oh,
So
I love
I see a lot of people with arthritis and things like that, and I try to get them to ride a bike or to do some leg strengthening exercises. Nobody's super afraid of arthritis, but they are of dementia. So that falls into that stockpiling health category. That's the number two. The third thing, which is crucial, and you and I are doing this right now, is to cultivate closeness. What I mean by that is, we may have a whole bunch of friends we haven't seen, but if we spend time every single day reaching out via phone call, a text, or especially a video connection, we're cultivating that closeness, which we really need as human beings. It's good for your immune system, and it's really good for your vitality. So again, those three things are pinpoint your purpose, stockpile health, and cultivate closeness. Those are my top three when I teach people how to ignite their vitality.
Well, I got really excited from the get-go on the pinpoint. This whole purpose issue is so important. And you made a comment. I highlighted my Kindle so many times. I have 4 pages of
wow.
Mishra quotes. But this
Wow.
one is your present purpose. You talk about your, did you call it your
present purpose?
Peak purpose, but you talk about the present purpose. Because, and I've always said, we take time to do which is most important to us. But sometimes I kind of translated that to maybe to what we think is essential in the moment. But you say your present purpose is easy to define. It is a function of how you spend your time and energy. And so, but we don't have to stay stuck in our present purpose. Because if we're not feeling and really experiencing a completely vital life, the truth is that present purpose is probably not the one we want to stay stuck in. We want to rediscover.
For sure. So what I call your purpose is your most important modifiable vitality asset. Let me say that one more time. Your purpose is your most important modifiable vitality asset. So you can change it. So when I was in undergrad and med school, I wanted to be a doctor. That's my purpose. I'm going to finish med school. So things change over time. When you go through a period of transition, whether that's a divorce, a death, a job change, whatever it is, maybe even just getting older or moving to a new area, you get to change that purpose. But it is the foundation, my opinion, of your vitality. The second thing, when you're talking about that, it's the chapter in the book called Think with Time in Mind. So when I turned to special age, I got one of those little red cards, those little AARP cards.
Oh, yes. They come too early, don't they?
I came back and I was really upset because I'm like, oh no, I'm in that special age category now. And I actually looked up at the Social Security website. It gives a prediction of how old when you're gonna die. It's kind of morbid, but I did that. And then I did the calculation of exactly how much time I had left, and it turned out to be about 1 billion seconds. So I called it my 1 billion second challenge. So I broke it down, and 1,000 seconds is about 17 minutes. And I said, I'm not going to waste another second. So when you're trying to figure out what your purpose is, if you break this is why I think vitality is interconnected. So purpose is one component. How you manage your time is a second component. So when I'm talking to you right now, I am doing something which I think is intrinsically valuable. What do I mean by that? This is awesome. I love talking about vitality. I love meeting new people. The more time you can spend doing intrinsically valuable activities for yourself, the closer you're going to get to your purpose. So if you're spending your time in a way that you don't think is valuable to you and or society, you're drifting away from your peak purpose. And so as I do more and more interviews and teach more, I'm really convinced that vitality is a skill because you can get better at it. Everybody's wasting 1,000 seconds a day. That's one. Whatever that may be.
At least.
So if you take that 1,000 seconds, that's 17 minutes, and you direct it towards one component of your vitality. And here's a challenge I've been asking people to think about. Some people are better at other components of vitality. Maybe you're really good at fitness, but you're not good at trying to manage your time, or you're not good with your sleep. Take your least adapted or developed vitality component and focus on it. Turn your worst into your best. So I wasn't really very good at sleeping, especially as a doctor. I was
right.
really bad at that. And then I started studying it. I started reaching out to people. now I try to go to bed by 9:30 or 10. I have to get up very early in the morning for surgeries and things like that. But even if I want to be asleep by 10 o'clock, I have to start winding down by 9. I have to kind of set the mood for my bedroom so that my wife is like, "Why are you going in the room at 9:15? I mean, you're not going to bed at night." I said, "I got to read. I got to calm my mind." One tip on that one is if you write down your things to do for the next day, which I've been doing for a long period of time, not type it into the computer or into an app, but physically write it down. It helps you release that. It
I
helps you
love that
move it
reminder.
the next day.
Yes, especially for type A's, of which I'm semi-recovered. Um, I love that because you're right. You're putting it somewhere like, okay, that's there for later. I won't forget it. I don't have to dwell on it. I can kind of clean my slate for nighttime. And I love that you spend a lot of time on the sleep factor. The older I get, and I've hit more than one milestone birthday, as you know, turning almost 68 now. Um, I just, the studies of just cellular renewal and not only physical renewal, but psychological, mental, emotional renewal, it only happens in sleep and it only happens in quality sleep. And so I love that you put that as one of your key essentials because I know, I work with a lot of mature women. Our audience is predominantly women over 45, many of them in the throes of perimenopause, and they're not sleeping well. So there are sometimes some physiological reasons that gets disrupted hormonally, but there are so many ways we can address that. And I do think it's important. And so much resonated with me with your time thing. We both share an appreciation for the book Essentialism,
Yes.
which is really being very intentional. And what I was thinking about when you're talking about time is I think sometimes we can get this misconception, oh my gosh, I've got to be productive 24/7 every second. Am I checking off my list? It's more about when you're relaxing, are you really relaxing? Are you really engaging in a conversation when you're having a meal? Are you really fully enjoying the food and the fellowship? It's being, I think, highly intentional without feeling like you're always having to check a box of productivity. Productivity is just being instead of always doing,
Right.
but being with intention. And I sense that in your writing, you're helping people find that peace in it. It's not a frenzy of activity. It's just, I'm choosing, this is how I want my life to look and be. What do you say to these people that you're helping in this journey? I know you said a lot about excuses. So say a few words. You make some pretty good statements about excuses.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit like a comedian trying out my jokes, Dana. So I say stop binging at the buffet of excuses. All right, so it's too easy to list all the potential things that you could. Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? Blah 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 blah. You can fill it in. I don't want to lose weight. I don't want to exercise. The best way to start is to take ownership over your choices and decisions. Like as much as I want to, and what I tried to do with the book is to provide a framework by which people can start to think about it. But I can't give it to you. Your government can't give you vitality. Your mom, your grandmother, your daughter, even God can't give you vitality. It is something, again, my opinion, my thesis that I'm studying is it is something you earn by making wise choices. And one of the most important wise choices, which I still struggle with because I am very much type A. And I'm not even a recovering type A. I may be like type triple A. But
Yeah.
what I try to remind myself, even though I've written about this and in the process of publishing papers on it, I have to learn and pause to do something crucial, and that is to pause to nourish myself. Okay, that's you have your purpose statement, which you might have looked in the book as your purpose finding statement. But at the end of that chapter is how am I going to nourish myself? So I have to listen to myself like a coach. Did you nourish your physical, mental, social, or spiritual well-being every single day? Take that 1,000 seconds that you might be wasting. There's a lot of things we waste them. So I try not to gossip. I try not to think about yes, the phone, too much texting. My daughter's trying to get me to download TikTok. I'm not going to do it.
social media and all these things can be wonderful tools. They can be wonderful for connection. We use it a lot in our work we do a lot of coaching, virtual coaching, and we have private Facebook groups, and it can be very, very good. But I can go down a rabbit trail of watching the news feed, and then all of a sudden, 30 minutes are gone, and, I'll have friends say, did you see this video? And people are sending you things. And half the time when people say, did you see that? I go, I saw it, but I didn't look at it. Because I have to choose. I can't be indulged. If I'm intentionally wanting to unwind and laugh at something, I might go to YouTube and find some things that make me laugh. One of my new favorite things is SGN, Some Good News by John Krasinski. Because it's just all good news, and there's so much stuff out there that's negative. But I do love how you tell people to take ownership, and all excuses are equal. They're equally worthless. They don't help us get where we want to go. You can acknowledge stumbling blocks. I love how in your book, every single chapter is a workbook of sorts to translate what you've just read. And it's in nice little bite-sized bits that you can stop and ponder and think. And it's not like you have to be on a crash course with this either, right? You can take it one step at a time. The way you present it is it's convicting in a positive way. Like, wow, I do waste time. Wow. Years ago, this is back before I turned 60, I was listening to a woman, the well-known Bible teacher, Kay Arthur. She was live. I was actually hosting her at an event, and she was running back and forth to the stage. And she had said, I'm turning 75 next month. And I thought, wow, she's 18 years older than me. And I did a similar calculation as you. I figured out how many days it was until I turned 75. That was 12 years ago. Right now, I'm a little closer. I'm only 7 years from 75. But I figured out at that time I had 8,700 some days. And I remember thinking, I don't want to waste these days. She's so vital at 75, and that's my plan too. Vital, there's the word. But because you could see she's living out her purpose. She was doing all the things, and she was running across the stage. And she'd talk on this side and talk on this side. But I was like, I'm not going to waste it. I actually took my Bible and wrote inside it and did a countdown of days until I ran out of pages. And I think it's just those kinds of reality checks really can move us to not lose the quality of each day, that we can make an investment. There's a wonderful quote by Oswald Chambers, and it's God's purpose is for this very moment, for the 60 seconds in every minute and the 60 minutes in every hour. And it's just that's how I felt when I read so many portions of your book. Is like, yeah, let's just be super intentional, vital people that make a difference.
And I love how you leaned into the spiritual component of it, which I've lived in Silicon Valley for 20 years. And I think sometimes we run away from that. I am a Christian, and I have embedded some of that in the book, but it doesn't have to be religious. The way I define spiritual vitality is belief in something bigger than yourself. And if you are not believing or working towards something bigger than yourself, I don't think you can be your most vital self. I see a lot of people who have a lot of the other check boxes, and they're not super vital. When you start to try and serve other people, especially other people in need, it's a superpower. And you kind of feel good about it. You can't try to explain to yourself, how do I feel better when I do that? Because I'm not focusing on me. I want to make more money. I want to get more status. I want to have more followers or more likes. Mm-hmm. But if you can, what I call suspend that disbelief in your head that helping other people, and even though at the end of my book is this chapter called Serve First, it should have been the first chapter. But I confess in the book that even though I know that, I still don't do that as much as I should. So if I ever rewrite it again, I'm going to try and make it one of the first chapters, because I think if we're searching for purpose, if we're searching for vitality, especially in a situation where maybe now there's a lot of despair out there, every single one of us still has something we can give to somebody else. Maybe that's just calling up a friend who's in a small apartment and doesn't have anybody who's checking in on them. Maybe it's reaching out to an old college friend. Whatever that is, try to serve somebody, and then you're going to go, wow, I feel better. I feel a little more vital.
I totally agree. And I know, when we're hurting the most and facing some of our own stuff, looking up and out, I call it moving from our navel gazing to, looking out to the world's needs, it changes everything. Any closing words you would have for all these midlife, we call them ageless women. We don't like mature, but all these ageless women that will be watching this video in terms of just maybe the next first step. Or the first.
Well, it's an absolute honor to be your guest and to speak to your audience. I see tons of people like this in my orthopedic practice every single day. And I would say, don't discount what you can do. Silence that little voice of judgment in your head about how vital you can be. Pick one of these parameters that are listed in the book. It could be hope, it could be fitness, it could be purpose, it could be time, it could be serving other people. And then just it's a little bit of an analog answer, okay? But if you could take a piece of paper, print out a calendar, okay? And then put a little box or 3 little boxes in each one of those little days, and then take one of these, this is a pen, and fill in that little box each day of, I did my stretches, I did my meditation, I did this, and then look at it a month later, okay? How many boxes did you fill in where you were constantly or consistently working on your vitality? Here's the aphorism I use. Your future self will thank you. So all those people out there are going to, just don't think that you can't be vital, because I think you can be vital, and it's up to you to make that choice.
I so agree, and I love the analog. We need to get to some of the basics again. One of the things that I've learned in a lot of my research is that the physical act of writing, and I'm a computer. I'm an author, writer too, so I love to write on my computer. But the true physical act of writing, there's something that really happens in that whole mind-body connection and wellness and wholeness. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in January. And I have my own health advocate coach who was like, I have been through a couple tough years of some really tough stuff in my life, because I'm like, I've been doing everything right. How does this happen? My mom had it. But the point is, she's like, I want you to get a notebook. I don't want you typing down. I want you organically writing. And that's what I love about your book, Alan, is that you're getting people to ideally get the hard copy. Of course, I'm going to include the link to your book. Get the hard copy of the book.
There it is.
Yes, I mentioned Kindle because I knew I was going to be on the road, and long and short is I wanted to read it and didn't want to wait for it to get to me. But I would get the hard copy of the book and go old school with, yes, as you reminded us, what this thing is called a pen, and write and start writing. Then maybe grab another little journal or notebook and expand on it. You've got a great foundation for people to really enhance their lives greatly. I'm so honored that you would take some time to speak to our audience and our viewers, and keep up the good work. I want to stay in touch.
So Dan, I hope this is the beginning of a collaboration, because I really want to make this meaningful for you and for your audience. And then I'm scientifically studying it. So we're trying to look at actionable things where you could later say, does this really make sense? So thank you so much for letting me be part of your world. And I look forward to staying in touch and coming back sometime and answering more questions.
My pleasure.